and change the world. So right now I want you to say to me, I love you. You are beautiful. And you can do anything.
Hey beautiful people, welcome back to another video. If you're a subscriber and if you are new, hey boo, go ahead and subscribe, like this video, and I'm always here to connect, and Vanessa is here to connect if you need any guidance. This video is a part 2 or like a recap version of a video that me and Vanessa filmed 2 years ago. So if you haven't checked that out, you already know what to do. Lots of gems were spilled and we made that video I think about a month or 2 into our MPH, and now we are both graduates at our respective universities and our respective programs. We're gonna go ahead and get into me and Vanessa answering the same questions from 2 different viewpoints.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Mallory, and I received my bachelor's degree at Alabama State University, go Hornets, where I got a bachelor's of science in rehabilitation services with a concentration in addictions. And I recently graduated from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, where I received my MPH with a concentration in epidemiology.
My name is Natasha Marshall. I went to undergrad at Alabama State University with Vanessa, that's how we met. My major in undergrad was rehabilitation services with a concentration in addictions. And I just graduated with my MPH, which is Master of Public Health in Health Promotion and Behavioral Science. And my certificate was in Health Disparities.
I definitely feel like I'm in that phase of that like post-grad depression type of phase that everyone goes through. And I wouldn't say that it's filled with like super sad moments, and I'll kind of like explain that a little bit. So like I didn't really get that post-grad depression after I graduated undergrad because I filtered in right into an internship that literally filtered in right into grad school. And so with this period, I've really had time to reflect. I haven't started working my new position yet, and I've really had time to just kind of sit and reflect on the past 2 years that I've spent in Charlotte, the people that I've met, the program, the things that I've learned, and kind of prepare myself to enter this new phase in my life. And I've realized I've been hit with like moments of sadness, moments of being super anxious about what's to come, having that experience of like imposter syndrome, whether I'm good enough to like embark on this position and just like things of that nature. And so I found that it really helps to have people that are in your life that are going through the same thing. And so I have friends that have recently graduated with their masters as well, and they're in different cities and they're also packing up their lives, moving from cities that they're also residing in for the past 2 years and moving to completely new cities like I did myself to embark on a new journey. And so I found that kind of like talking to them and finding out that like, hey, these feelings aren't anything out of the ordinary or anything like that, and kind of just being able to relate with those experiences that I'm having with the people in my life has been really, really helpful. Because like half the time I'm like, you graduated, why aren't you super excited? And then sometimes I am excited. And so it really comes in waves. Sometimes I'm nervous, sometimes I'm sad. It really just comes in waves because ending a chapter in your life and kind of closing that door is never like a hooray. You always have that moment of like, wow, it's really done. You know what I'm saying? Even though there were nights when I was like, I cannot wait to be done with this degree. When I'm like staying up for papers and everything like that, but still kind of completing it and moving away from Charlotte has still been a moment of like, wow, I'm really done with that phase of my life. And now here I am embarking on something completely new, foreign. And I think that's where those feelings come from. And so I would say for any recent MPH grads, you're not alone. Like, completely understand how you're feeling. And if you're feeling any of these experiences, I bet there's other MPH grads that you might know from your program, or hey, myself, that have the same feelings that you're having about just like figuring out what's next and what that looks like for you. So that's definitely something that I feel like people don't talk about most of the time, because it's like, you're supposed to be so excited because you graduated, but really having time to kind of pause and think about, I've accomplished what I've been working towards for the past 2 years, and now it's time to kind of embark on something completely new. It's a little scary, but it's definitely a joyous experience in the same time, because like I said, I was working and preparing for this moment. And so I do feel like now it's like, okay, you're here, you've arrived, and like now it's your time.
Now that I've graduated with my MPH, of course it feels great to be done with school, the tests, the assignments, like the anxiety that just surrounds school, and with always having, homework to do, something to study for, like that feels very nice. I was grateful to, you know, get a job basically immediately after, and I'm still doing a program until August that I've been doing basically from the second semester of my first year all the way up until now. So I'm busy. So thankfully, I'm thankful to God for that, because I know that tends to be the reason why a lot of people hit that like post-grad depression, is because they don't have jobs. They're applying everywhere. They're not getting luck. So I'm grateful that I didn't have to go through that. But of course, we all have our ups and downs. Sometimes I see, you know, where my colleagues or my classmates, and really they're my sisters, my friends, like where they're going, and it can sometimes shake my confidence a little bit. And sometimes just see people straight out of school and see where they are and where I am. That can be disheartening, but also that's why you need to focus on yourself, focus on your lane. If you need to, you know, pop off of social media, delete the app, take a hiatus, please do that, because please do not compare yourself to everybody, because you don't even want to be doing what some of these people are doing, but yet you're looking at the things that they're getting from it and you're jealous. Like, why? You don't want to do that. They're stressed. You don't have to be. Like, not the case isn't always that, but sometimes that can be it. So what's best to do is to just focus on yourself. To wrap that all up, it feels great, but it's also like, now that I've graduated and I don't have school as a distraction, I feel like I've had to focus a lot more on myself. So now I see that there are a lot more things that I need to be doing, worrying about paying back off my loan and, you know, the woes of life, possibly moving somewhere. Like I don't, getting money, saving money. Like now I really am focused, like really I'm forced to focus on those things now that I don't have school. So that can be a lot. And now that I'm out of school, it's like, it just makes me think of all the adulty parts of life. So like, where am I gonna live? I mean, I have somewhere to live, but it's like, you know, when I move, where do I want to move? Am I gonna have a husband, even though I'm not even dating anybody? But it just makes me think of all those super adulty things. Like, don't be like me. Just because you graduated doesn't mean that you have to be like the perfect adult wife, soccer mom, when you don't even have like a partner or children. But for some reason, that's just what it does to me. But I'm learning to level myself out. I've been journaling a lot more, writing down my feelings and writing down like things that I think about, just so I can put it on paper and get it out of me, because some of these thoughts are irrational thoughts. So I think that's the biggest thing. If you are having more of a negative like a negative side of graduating, if you think that you're gonna have like the negative side, realize that a lot of the things that you think are irrational thoughts. These worst case scenarios are not gonna happen, and if they do happen, you will be fine. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. Hey, my apologies. There was a little bit of corruption with a few of the videos for Vanessa's answers. So for 3 of those, you'll be seeing this screen with her answer on the screen, and I'll go ahead and read it for you. The question was, what kind of public health work experience did you get during your program? Was it self-inflicted or a part of your degree requirements? Her answer was, the public health experience I received while I was in my program was a summer internship that was required to be completed by every student in order to fulfill degree requirements. I worked with the local health department and a local community-based substance use disorder facility to implement a tobacco-free campus policy. The policy was implemented across all of the sites of the community-based substance use disorder facility. My role as an intern was helping with creating a survey to assess how staff and clients felt about the upcoming policy implementation and the dissemination of these survey results. I enjoyed this internship so much that I actually worked with them until the end of my second year of graduate school. The public health work experience that I got was around social determinants of health at a Houston clinic, and that was a self-inflicted work experience through a program I don't want to say yet, because I am going to do a whole financial video and I'm going to talk about it there. So that was not like a part of my degree requirement, although I did end up using that job for my practicum. So I did like double dip, which you can totally do. Not you personally, but I'm saying like in our program, we can do that. Social determinants of health, which if you don't know what those are just like the social factors that factor into health. So we focus on food, housing, transportation, and utilities. Lack of these 3 things or difficulty in I said 4 things, or difficulty in these 4 things can cause a patient's health to not be the best. If you don't have money for food, or you have low money for food, it's very easy to pick unhealthy options. If you don't have transportation, it's hard to make it to your appointments. Your patients may not be coming to their appointments because they don't have transportation, not just because they don't care about your time, stuff like that. Now that you've completed your program, what advice would you give to a new MPH student to enhance their grad school experience? Vanessa's answer was, the first piece of advice that I would give an MPH student would be to get as much public health experience as possible during your program. Nothing beats real world experience and applying the skills that we are learning during the semester. Even if it's only for a few weeks or months, do it. The second piece of advice would be, don't be afraid to rely on an outside resource to teach you and develop the skills that you're learning in school. There are so many resources out there about the statistical programs we work with and other topics that are covered in class. Those resources were extremely helpful for me, especially when we went virtual. So I would rely on those and become familiar with the content that's out there. Okay, now that I have completed my program, the advice that I would give: find an established student if you can to help you out, or stick close to some of the people that you meet coming into your program. Hopefully you all gel nicely, because colleagues have been my biggest help. Colleagues and then the one professor that I'm very close to have been my biggest helps when it comes to everything inside of MPH and outside of MPH. So scheduling classes, finding opportunities, like, please build a network, and I hate when people say that, because I'm not a person like my dad. He can just walk up to somebody, talk to them, and like, boom, he meets friends everywhere. I'm not that social, I'm gonna be honest, and he's always like, you need to network. But networking does not have to feel like a forced thing where you're going and talking to someone because you can help me. It's just naturally, like, you want to make friends, you want to have some, even if they don't start off as friends, you want to have some colleagues that you can text or call for clarification if you have a question about something, and hopefully it will develop into like a friendship, and people naturally become a part of your network the more that you talk to them. So I like to think of it like that. I don't like to force networking because I'm kind of socially awkward, okay? Until I'm comfortable with you, that is. But yeah, I'm always very nervous to approach new people, but please try to meet some people. And if it helps, one thing that will help you is if you can meet one person in your program and like you gel well with them, and if they're extroverted, you will naturally meet the people that they meet. That's a foolproof way. And the second thing that I would say to help enhance your grad school experience, I would say to get out in the city, whichever city you're in, or even if your program's online. I've done like volunteer work in Houston, even though I was like new to living in Houston when I got here. I found things to do. So, I got involved with some volunteer work through like the Houston Food Bank. I volunteered there a good amount of times, and I was a mentor in, what was it called? Elite Girls, which was a program for high school girls within like the KIP schools. But I really, really enjoyed that. COVID ruined it because I started that before COVID. So, I think every other week I'd go to KIP, and it was in person. And then it switched to online, which, a lot of the girls wouldn't really come to online as much. And then it ended, and then it hasn't picked back up in person since. But if it were to pick back up in person, I definitely want to go back. Because I did enjoy working with them and being able to share knowledge that I feel like is, sometimes you feel like your knowledge is not useful, but you'd be surprised the things that that can really benefit other people. So yeah, I would say get involved in the city, and even outside of volunteering, like, get out and enjoy yourself. I am a person that needs balance. I don't know how some people, well, I get it. They have a goal or whatever, but I'm a person that needs like a social and a school or work-life balance. Like, I cannot just be mainly work, mainly school. Like I need a balance, okay? I need something to look forward to. I can't just be in the books and then be at home by myself. Like I could be, but even if it's just a simple thing like getting out and going to walk at a park and then going to eat lunch by yourself. Like you don't even have to be with people, but get out and enjoy. Because I've done a lot of things by myself and I've learned, I feel like that's how you really learn yourself. It's easy to go somewhere with somebody and be distracted. When you go by yourself, I think you can really like enjoy things to its fullest. And you get to know yourself a lot more than if you were to just go with somebody and use them as your social crutch.
So I'm going to answer 2 questions in this segment. My most difficult class and then my favorite class. So I would say my most difficult class of my entire MPH experience was my public health data analysis course. So this course was difficult for a few reasons, but I think the main reason was that this was like my first time working with a big data set and having to like clean the data, recode everything, run the tests, and just like present the results all on my own. Typically stuff like that was done in group projects and our professors had provided like a clean data set where things were recoded. And so we were using like a national survey through IPMs. We were able to kind of select the variables that we wanted. We designed the research question that we had. So it was like a really fun experience, but I think the anxiety of like going in and like selecting this data set where I have like over 100,000 people in my sample set, I was like, how am I gonna recode this stuff, clean this missing data? Like every time I was pulling variables, things were missing. I had like 2 respondents answering like one part of the question. It was insane. And so I feel like with that, I was like back to square one. So many times before the deadline was like, before the deadline, I felt like I would hit square one, like at least every week. Like I would meet my professor, think I was making leeway, and then I would realize like something was wrong. And I had to keep going back. I downloaded at least 6 or 7 data sets from IPMs that semester, just like with different little variables, like or confounders that I had to like pick out. But it was just an insane amount of stress trying to get this done. And I feel like once I got the data set cleaned and everything recoded, running the test was pretty simple. And I was like, okay, this wasn't that bad. Like that took me a couple days, and then just writing up the manuscript and presenting those results. But I would say that project probably was like the most stressful. I was meeting with my professor every week to discuss what I was doing wrong, essentially. Even if I thought I was on the right track, I was on the wrong track type of thing. But I definitely say like that course specifically is something that I look back now and I'm like, I'm so glad that my professor gave us that project, because it really made me more confident in my data analysis skills and more confident in being able to complete a project to that magnitude on my own. And I feel like he did that for a reason, and I definitely thank him for that, because now like in interviews or just like talking to people, I feel more confident, like, yeah, I can do it. Like I got it because I've done it before. And I sat up late at night figuring out my errors and recoding things and pulling different variables. So now like the data analysis parts of projects don't scare me as much, because it did. Because before this, like I said, no public health experience. I didn't really have experience with SAS or STATA or SPSS. So like everything in EPI as far as that portion was very foreign to me. So like that was something that used to kind of be nerve-wracking when it came to the data analysis part of projects. But now I definitely feel more confident. So the class was super difficult while I was in it, but looking back now, it probably was my most valuable class in the weirdest way. So definitely it feels better coming out on the end of that one. And came out with a good grade too. What was my favorite class? I would say, I can't remember the name of the course. We took it our first semester of our program. And with this course, it became my favorite course because of the project that we did. We were assigned certain populations of students at UNC Charlotte, and we had to create a needs-based program. So we did a needs assessment, kind of assessing what are the needs of this specific population of students on our campus, and then finding and figuring out how to create a program that assessed those needs that we identified that also was culturally and socially appropriate. I really enjoyed it just because it was interesting, like connecting with students on the campus, because we had to do some student interviews to kind of get an idea, connect with students and kind of talk to them and hear their needs out and hear kind of what their experience was like at UNC Charlotte, and then posed this idea of a needs-based program that assessed those needs was really interesting to me. And I think these skills that we were developing in this intro class were definitely something that we utilized throughout the duration of our program, because we had to conduct a lot of student interviews in other courses that we had with specific populations of students as well. So I think having that experience right off the bat in that first course really laid the foundation for the rest of the program. So I really enjoyed that. And then being able to hear out about the other programs that my other classmates had created as well, as far as assessing needs of other subpopulations of students, was definitely interesting for me too, because it was really that first moment where you realize I'm really in a master's program for public health.
My most difficult class, I don't want to talk too much about biostats because I have a whole video where I show footage of me freaking crying about biostats. So I'm going to put it up there and say biostats is definitely one. But to address another class that I really disliked, it would be intervention mapping. Y'all, so intervention mapping was basically like creating this intervention, but here's where I felt like it was unjust. I heard that normally in that class you would be in groups, so you would be creating an intervention as a group. It was just a lot of work, and we had to do it by ourselves. And y'all, that class, I have cried about that class. I had panic attacks about that class, and I learned with that class that I couldn't really listen to some of my friends that were in the class talk about it, because it would give me anxiety and make me feel like I'm not doing enough or I'm not in the right spot. So it got to the point where I knew what person I could ask a question if I just had a question of how to do something, but I knew when they start talking about that class, I'm gonna respectfully put the group chat on mute and not really read it, because it's gonna give me anxiety. That's the first class that I got that I've ever had a migraine, y'all. I caught a migraine doing intervention mapping the day before it was due. I was at my sister's house, and I even took two Aleve, which will normally fix anything, whether it's a headache, cramps, two Aleves. One Aleve will usually get me right, but two Aleves, whatever it was is no longer bothering me, y'all. I took the two Aleves, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it 30, 40 more minutes. Still pain. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go home, go to sleep. And y'all, I could barely drive back. I'm trying to drive, and the lights, I think I put on my sunglasses and was squinting my eyes, and my eyes were just barely open because it was that painful. And even once I got back to the house, I had my eyes closed and I'm trying to go to sleep, and I'm in complete darkness, and it was still very painful. So I ended up texting my friend Nia, because I know she gets migraines sometimes. I'm like, Nia, what do you take? What can you do? And so she was like, Excedrin. And I thought that, it should work. The Aleve should work, or a Tylenol, that type of thing. But no, if you have a migraine, take migraine medication, because I think it's acetaminophen. I'll put it on the screen. I know what I'm talking about. But the painkiller chemical, and I know it's mixed with caffeine. It's mixed with a couple things, because after that I did some research. I went and I got some migraine medication, even though that was the only migraine that I've ever had. But at least if it happens, now I have that. Literally the next day I was like, I don't have an option. It's due today by midnight. I didn't have a migraine, but I still felt like if any wrong move would put me on the brink of having a headache or a migraine. So I turned my computer screen all the way low. So that class, biostats in that class, it was 3 main classes for me. Biostats, y'all know. Intervention mapping. And then program evaluation. And if you watched my semester recap, you would know why that me in that class, we weren't buds. But those were my worst classes to me of my MPH experience. Oh, wait. There was one class that was a bad experience, but it was mainly because of the teacher. So I'm just going to mention it very, very quick. It was community something, but y'all, my teacher did not get into constant communication with us. This was fall semester. She didn't start honestly communicating with us until after Halloween, Halloween time. We're already 2 semesters in, and then she had all of these it's weird. It's like she had instructions, but they weren't clear instructions. And when we asked what to do, it was still unclear. It was just the most unorganized yet hectic class of my life. It got to the point where like we have this SPH, like UTH SPH Facebook group. We were in the Facebook group like, hey, is anybody else in, I'm not gonna put her out there, but is anybody else in so-and-so's class? I don't even know if this is like the actual class. Like, how do I describe it? It's like we were all confused and we're like, is this class still happening? Because we need this class to graduate. It was happening, but our teacher was just so unorganized, y'all. Like, I looked at her and I'm like, are you not embarrassed? Are you not embarrassed? My favorite class. So I think that I had 3 favorite classes, just like I had 3 difficult, hated classes. So my 3 favorite classes in no particular order would be working with diverse communities, which I talked about that in my semester recap. I think I talked about that in my semester recap from last spring. So spring 2020. I really enjoyed issues in aging, which I talked about that in my spring 2021 recap that I just put up. And then, what is the name of this class? Qualitative research methods, because the teacher was my amazing professor, Dr. Baker, and Dr. Baker has been such a mentor, like for me and for all of us, like Black girls, and she's a Delta. But yeah, she was the teacher and she did an amazing job. And my friend Brittany was the TA. She did an amazing job as well. And I think I just learned a lot about qualitative research. And basically that class led me to exactly what I'm doing now, which is like interviewing, getting qualitative data. So that class was very applicable for me. You know how some classes it's like, when am I ever going to use this? That stuff I really used and I actually use.
Vanessa's answer was, my financial journey was a bit different. I had a graduate assistantship throughout my time in the program, which helped a lot. It required me to work 20 hours a week on campus. Then I transitioned to working remotely in spring 2020. I also received a scholarship that helped pay some of my balance, but majority of my tuition was paid for by loans. As far as bills, I did not have to pay rent because I had the privilege of staying with my grandmother while completing my degree. I was really blessed to not have many financial burdens while in school.
At the beginning, my financial journey was very rocky, in my opinion. I had to take out a loan my first year of school, and I cried when I had to sign the master promissory note because I had never taken out a loan for school before, and I wanted to go all the way through school without having to take out a loan. It wasn't for a lot, and you know, that's what people kept telling me, like, this is really nothing in the world of student loans, but I still did not want to have that loan. So yeah, I cried. But after the first year, I'm happy to announce that I did not have to take out another loan. I had a scholarship going into UT that granted me money, granted me in-state, but I don't want to get too deep into that because I'm going to have a whole financial, like MPH financial video. But yes, so I had UT scholarships both years. I only had to take out that loan my first year. My second year, between the scholarships and the other program that I'm going to tell you about when I make the financial video, that paid for my school. So, and I think I had to pay a little bit one time because they were, you know, acting a little funny, taking a good amount, but I ended up getting it refunded. And I remember when I first started school, I felt like, of course I was getting adjusted, but I was like, you know, I'm a broke boy. I need some money. So I was very thankful that my classmate, like basically recommended that social determinant position at the clinic, and that happened. And I think I developed some pretty good saving habits over my MPH because I realized that if I had been saving since undergrad, I would have a lot more money than what I have now. Because in undergrad, I worked at the school, but the amount that I was making, y'all, I was eating good. I was buying clothes, which I still do that now, but I'm going to put that money aside. I'm going to save that money first. So I wish I had been doing that, but I'm happy that I gained that through my MPH. The next step that I want to do is budgeting. I started a journal now where I started in July, where I'm going to write down every single purchase for the month of July, so I can really assess like how much money is going out versus how much money is coming in, what stuff is unnecessary, and I do need to create a budget. So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna have a more detailed video personally on my finance, like the financial side of my MPH, but that was it.
Would I choose UNC Charlotte again if I had to go back in time? I would, because I feel like what happened at UNC Charlotte and the experiences that I gained and like the path that I'm on wouldn't be my path if I didn't go to UNC Charlotte. I feel like it was destined, just because I needed to go through the experiences that I did and to gain the knowledge that I did to get to the point that I'm at now, to be embarking on this new journey with a new position and entering the public health field. So I would definitely say that it was meant to be. And I would go back and do it all over again. Something that I would just advise people that are applying to programs to do is definitely just make sure you're researching what the institution has to offer. Figure out what you want to gain from an institution and make sure they check all the boxes. Put them through a mini interviewing phase or assessment phase, whatever you want to call it, to just make sure they check everything that you want. Because whether you spend 2 years, 4 years, or 6 years there, you want to gain as much as possible because they're going to gain things from you. So just make sure that you're getting everything that you want, whether that's employment opportunities, research, tuition, grants, like scholarships, whatever the case may be. Make sure they have that available to you so that you're not feeling like you're short selling yourself as far as the institution that you go to. And then, yeah, I think that's just like one of the biggest things. It's something that I didn't learn until like a year in, like, oh, I could have looked at this or I could have looked at this. Just really define my search a little bit more. But I didn't really know how to start with the grad school search. So that's something that I would just give you all a tidbit. But yeah, if y'all have any other questions, seriously, I'll have Natasha link my Instagram in the comments. Please feel free to reach out. I love talking to people about public health. I love connecting with others that are passionate about public health. So please feel free to reach out. Thank you, Natasha, for giving me this opportunity to do a little life update. Maybe we can do another one in like a year or two to kind of update again and see where everybody is at. But thank you, y'all, for listening, and I appreciate it.
If I could go back in time, would I choose my institution? I would still choose my institution. There were some rocky points between, there were really good things that happened and really bad things that happened. So, firstly, like I say, I felt like UT's communication with me was top tier from the application all the way until the acceptance. So I just had a good vibe around them. Meeting my classmates, have you ever met somebody and you feel like you already knew them? Like, that's literally how I feel with my classmates. So having their friendship and their like the sisterhood that we formed, I wouldn't trade that for the world. So I know just based off of that I chose the right school. But even between the scholarships, meeting Dr. Baker, the people that I have met, I feel like were ordained to be in my life. So just off of that alone, that holds a lot of weight. But me and my classmates started a whole organization, Black Excellence in Public Health, at UT, and we weren't able to do like every single thing that we had planned, but we were able to host some pretty great events. We hosted events on natural hair in the workplace. We did a movie night where we watched Henrietta Lack's story. We did, unconventional? Something like unconventional careers in public health. We did a meditation workshop before finals. So I think that we have done a great job, even with the hurdles that we were given. I don't want to speak on it too much, but basically one large thing that happened in my MPH that I feel like really propelled me and my classmates that were involved with the organization to be better was receiving like a racially charged Zoom comment on one of our events that led to like a whole investigation. And it really, I think, molded us into better leaders than what we were before. It really molded us as leaders. From there it's like, okay, this is a problem. We already knew this. This is why we made this organization, so we could have things tailored to our needs or to topics that wouldn't normally be addressed, such as like natural hair in the workplace. Nobody would have that, for the most part at a PWI. Like, that's something that is tailored to our community that we have to put on. So from there, it's like, okay, yes, this is bad that it happened. We don't know who it is. But it's like from there we were realizing like we need to reach for higher, demand for higher. Like, so meetings with the dean and with higher administration to get, you know, some of the representation pieces that we need. Like, it just really, it was a con in terms of when it happened. And then the meetings, y'all, oh, the first meeting with the dean, like I said, I don't want to speak on it too much, but I remember like we were just really being prepared by some amazing Black faculty and some allied faculty for this meeting, like how we should approach it, what we need to be prepared with. And I just remember some of my co-founders, my classmates, my sisters, whatever you want to call them, like being in tears, like telling their testimonies about what it's like being a Black woman in some of the spaces that we have to endure. So like I said, negative in nature, but it really molded diamonds. So I don't regret it. I don't regret choosing this institution, and I'm happy to be on the other side of it. Okay. That is all we have for you. So we hope that this video was helpful, useful. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. If you would like to reach Vanessa separately, you can go ahead and follow her on Instagram, DM her, or you can follow me on Instagram, DM me. Like, we are definitely here to help. The first video was very well received, so we wanted to make a recap video now that we're both done. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope that you heard some things that you needed to hear. And like I said, if you have any questions, please leave them down below. If you have any encouraging words or testimonies related to your MPH, we would love to hear them. Have a blessed day.
Time to pause up. Fix your credit, girl. Get at it. Get your bag up. Hit that gym and get back time. Go get that degree. Go, girl. Focus on me. Unlock potential that you didn't know you had.